the death toll from the deadliest wildfire in California's history has now risen to 77. The Camp Fire in Northern California has burned more than 150,000 acres, and nearly 1,000 people are still unaccounted for.
Now, utility company Pacific Gas and Electric is under new pressure to explain its actions before the fire started. Our Meg Oliver is in Paradise, California, where the search for victims is ongoing.
Pacific Gas and Electric has confirmed it had 2 power line failures the day the deadly campfire started. The first one occurred at 6:15 a.m., less than 10 miles from Paradise, just 18 minutes before the flames erupted nearby. Now the utility company says another power outage happened at 6:45 a.m., about 5 miles away in Concow, the same town being investigated as a possible second location where the fire started.
We have eyes on the vegetation fire. It is on the west side of the river, underneath the transmission line.
While PG&E reported the first outage that same day, it waited more than a week to tell state regulators about the second one. In a statement, the company says, as more information became available about this location, we determined it was important to share that information.
When I left, I could hear the fire behind me.
Joanne Schaefer says days before the fire destroyed her home, PG&E called her and sent her an email like this one, saying they might shut off her power as a precaution. But she says the electricity was still on when she was forced to flee.
Are you wondering why they didn't turn it off?
I'm very wondering why. I'm wondering why this whole thing happened.
In a statement, the utility says in determining a public safety power shutoff, it considers multiple factors, including strong winds, very low humidity levels, critically dry vegetation, and on-the-ground observations. The forecasted conditions didn't meet the criteria. The cause of the fire is still under investigation as officials try to account for 100 still on a list of those reported missing.
We're hopeful that we're going to ultimately be able to account for the vast majority of those individuals, and it's a process.
So Meg Oliver is joining us now from Paradise, California. Meg, did PG&E have a plan for how they were going to deal with the wildfire at all?
Anne-Marie, before the fire decimated Paradise, California, PG&E said that it might turn off the power as a precaution because of the high fire danger. But as you saw in my piece, despite the low humidity, the high winds, and the extremely dry conditions, keep in mind this area has not received a significant amount of rainfall since last April. The company said that it just did not meet the criteria. Now, we do know that the company has only turned off the power once in its history. That was last month, and they received a lot of blowback after that happened from the public. As you can imagine, wasted food and just turning off your electricity can be a pain. But after you see this, a lot of people are wondering why they didn't do it again.
Yeah, and Meg, when we look at the images behind you, it does look like a war zone. And we know that there are at least nearly 1,000 people that are still unaccounted for. Given the conditions there, it's possible that some folks are just not able to connect on their cell phones or to the internet to let others know that they're okay. But how are officials working to track these folks down?
Vlad, you bring up a really good point. Let me just show you, because this used to be a general store, and as you can see, this is a scene that stretches for miles. We've got mangled metal and debris. We've got air conditioners that have fallen off the wall, and just tons and tons of debris that these investigators have to sift through. Now, we do know that they are using rapid DNA tests to identify the remains, but one anthropologist who is working with the forensic effort told CBS News that the positive identification from many of these remains will be impossible. And as you look at scenes like this one behind me, other remains may never be recovered.
And we know now that rain is in the forecast, which, you know, is good news for firefighters, not so good news for those trying to comb through the debris to find the remains of people.
That's right. So the rain is forecast for Wednesday, and it could do a few things. One, it could wash away valuable DNA evidence in areas like this one. It could also trigger flash floods, which is the last thing this area needs. And then the third thing is that keep in mind there are still hundreds of people that have evacuated. They're living in tent cities, and that rain could flood those areas, just making it unbearable for them. And we're talking about the day before Thanksgiving, after this horrific fire has completely destroyed this community.
It is tough. Meg Oliver, thank you so much.